Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. Oh, I think that was a bug. So yeah, I'm just up here. I was recording some shorts, some TikToks for my channel. I think Shiva right now is downstairs, also in a live right now. I was wanting to record a TikTok on Epstein. I mean a long form video on Epstein. But I think we could also talk about it here in the live potentially, if enough people are interested in talking about that. But I'm just gonna kind of wait for people to shuffle in, just kind of chill out a little bit before that happens. I was also wanting to talk about the infinite flavors of spirituality. It's a very interesting topic because this is one thing that we can experience infinite flavors of. And actually, I'm going to be right back because I want to quickly grab a charger. I'm gonna go in here with this so we can get a longer charger, because I'm gonna need this for certain things. Keep my phone charged. Let's go in here. See if anybody is gonna join. So hopefully this will keep my phone charged for the time being. That is a little bit far away. So yes, I'm thinking maybe talking about Epstein a little bit, the recent occurrences that have happened, all the updates, whatever spiritual ideas come to mind, whatever we want to discuss, whatever questions you guys might have. But let me plug my phone in really quickly. Yeah, so this is the idea that, I mean, what Epstein is doing, what Epstein did and this whole file situation, what the government is doing with these files, it's crazy. Let me plug my phone in real quick. Okay, hopefully that will keep that charging. Yes, good. Hello, Bradley. Welcome. Yes, this Epstein stuff is crazy. It's weird. But I probably did title this Helping You Guys Enlighten, so I don't want to focus too much on that topic. I want to address whatever it is whatever questions you guys might also have about spirituality, about mysticism, about enjoying these beautiful mystical realities that we can enjoy if we choose to dwell in, if we do these practices, if we awaken to these spiritual realities which can uplift and allow the mind to enter into realms and experiences that you wouldn't perhaps not even believe beforehand if you had never experienced them. That's ultimately what spirituality is not about. It's not about believing in anything. But yes, also let me know if you guys want to talk about the Epstein situation, because that's been really weird. The files, all these files that have been released, it's very strange how, I mean, it's insane, the incapability of the government, that they can't even redact these files properly, that somebody just like put black covering on them, but you can still just copy and paste the underlying text. So then you can move it over to another file and you can get all of the information out, which is just like blows my mind, honestly. It's crazy. It's so strange. Like, I mean, I know the government is incapable, but you wouldn't think that they are that like incapable. You know what I mean? Like if they're governing 300 million people, and they can't redact, and they can't properly block out these simple, like the simple text, it's very concerning about for the future and everything else. Merry Christmas, Abriel. Merry Christmas. Welcome everybody. Welcome Ginger. Yes, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Hope you guys had a good Christmas. Maybe let me know where you guys are from, what you guys did for Christmas, if you're interested in that. But yeah, it's so strange, this whole situation. When you'd think that, like, I mean, why would you? And in addition to that, the people, all the stuff that was happening in these files that were redacted, improperly redacted, because we can now see them, it's all stuff that happened 6 years ago, and it's implicating people in these files, which, um, which, which they said that there was no one else who was cooperating with Epstein. But you look at the files, and it's saying that they found like 10 people who were cooperating with Epstein that were never mentioned, never brought up. And not only that, they were saying that they were redacting only the names and only the information in order to protect the witnesses. But all the stuff that was redacted was actually, it was all of the people who were cooperating with Epstein. So that makes you wonder, like, the levels of government corruption. Because, you know, Donald Trump was on Epstein's plane a lot. The current Secretary of Defense, Peter Hegseth, was on his plane a lot. So it's very evident here that there's probably a lot of corruption. Maybe there's still probably a lot of prostitution, a lot of child sex problems going on. If they can't even solve this at the very highest level, how are they supposed to be able to fix any of this? Welcome, Yuvik Yang. Welcome, Webble Wobble Fleeb. It's a cool name. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Yeah, so I'm talking about spirituality, and I was kind of getting a little bit into the Epstein files as well, because there's been some very recent news on that, and I thought it was very interesting how, you know, these situations have arisen. Very unfortunate, very strange. Yeah, it's mentioned, it has names of very powerful CEOs in there who supposedly were potentially some of these people who were co-actors in this whole thing. Like the CEO of, like, it was maybe Porsche or some very famous company, so very strange. Hi, Ginger. So, no, I have not always resided in Bali. I grew up in San Diego, and I lived a little bit in the Pacific Northwest and in Florida. And about a couple months ago, I came here to Bali with Shiva and with some of these other people who were a part of this sort of spiritual organization. But I've been practicing spirituality for 10 years now. I began my spiritual journey when I was like 14. The Epstein stuff is such a mental vineyard and rabbit hole. I have to detach from it for my own sake. Yeah, that's a very good idea probably. I kind of wanted to speak about it because I guess mainly I thought it would be trending or people would be interested in it and help me get views, but really following it or following the rabbit hole, it's not really conducive for one's consciousness. It's such a low vibrational kind of thing. But it's still a little bit interesting nonetheless, because ultimately politics is a part of life, it's a part of our government. And these situations that we live in, these times we live in, nevertheless, the material is a real thing. And if we are governed by these people, it's unfortunate. It's not something that we should, you know, dwell on mentally, but it is something that we should think about occasionally, I think. So it's really, really strange what's been going on. But yeah, I've been practicing since I was 14. So I'm 23 now. So 9 or 10 years. Yeah, so it's been a while. I I've done many different practices. I'm in Kentucky and have been spiritual for as long similarly. Nice. Yeah, so I started out doing anapanasati, which is kind of like breath meditation, following your breath and diving into that. And then also I tried Shambhavi, Sadhguru's practices, and eventually I ended up on Ananda Marga, this path of bliss, this sort of meditation. It's good to follow your interest, but to follow a topic because it will get views may detract from your spiritual purpose. Yeah, that's 100% true. There's kind of this dichotomy that has existed because a lot of the time some of the spiritual topics can get repetitive, or they're not really meant for the wider world, the wider audience. So it's sometimes good to switch back and forth and kind of cast out a net in order to attract people in by talking about these topics and then slowly leading them into the spiritual ideas. But the best way, I think, is really just to focus on the spiritual internally, and also externally just let the the YouTube, let the interactions with others be a natural expression of one's internal state. That's the best way to do it, because that means that the more you go deeper in, hopefully you can bring others with you in uh, in that same deeply as well, into those deep waters. Um, but ultimately, first, I want to check that myself, and I have been. So, Shiva, I was telling you to come up here earlier when you were doing your live. This is my friend Shiva, Kailash Shambho. He's a spiritual saint, enlightened master. Um, yes. Do you have anything to say to the audience, Shiva?
Um, no.
No. It's good. Silence is always the best answer. Truth is in silence. So even though he said no, he really just said a lot. I
I I heard just a few minutes ago that you were here and this light fell and it made a loud noise and you just went yelled fuck.
Yeah,
So explain that. How dare you say such things? If you're spiritual, you're not spiritual then.
yeah. No, it's true. Uh, we're not perfect, always. I would have been very sad had this light broken, because then I wouldn't have been able to do this live or make my shorts. Wouldn't have been able to help you guys or grow my channel. So that would have been very, very sad indeed. Um, yeah, but I admit, yeah, I think also Leo does this a lot. I've heard stories that he screams like all sorts of stuff when he gets. I don't know what's been going on with him, or what situation was going on with him. But yeah, how did your live go, Shiva?
Oh, went good. Very productive, very sane. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say. This is a good live stream, and we're tuning out.
That's good. Well, when you don't have Dr. Rob, I think it's immediately in comparison going to be sane. So that's just the essence of it.
Yeah, we're gonna be seeing him soon, I hope, and live streaming with him.
Yes, we're going to uh, Vietnam very soon. We're going to see Dr. Rob, going to be with his crazy energy, do all sorts of fun stuff. Right now we're living in Bali, but we're going to Indonesia. We're going to be doing our spiritual practices, meditating together, making videos together, and exploring Vietnam. It's going to be a whole new country. Uh, yeah,
Take care, guys. Peace.
yeah, I need to get a sort of sash like that. That would be pretty cool, but I don't really know what that's for or understand that to the deepest level. So that's a little bit um, out of my tradition, you could say, or out of my understanding. But Shiva definitely has a very nice spiritual look with his sash, or whatever you call this, and his turban. I actually used to have long hair that was quite long, and I looked a lot more like Jesus. But then I buzzed it. I looked like Buddha for a while, and I'm thinking about growing it out back again. So yeah. Do I do anything entertaining? Um, no, I really just like to sit in bliss and peace. I like to educate people about spirituality, how they can live the highest good, the highest life. But yes, I'm really quite peaceful, quite chill. And if it's not for you, it's not for you, ultimately. I definitely don't care all about looks. Ultimately, I mean, looks are important. The material is important, especially if you're a personality on the internet. But definitely, what is more important is the inner world, or really the higher world, the higher realities, which we can enter into, which we can perceive, which we can enjoy, because that's ultimately what spirituality is about. It's about enjoying existence to the highest possibility, to which that we can. You know, there's all these small pleasures. It's this. There's food and sex and all these different things, and they're nice. They're good. But the highest expression of that, the highest version of that, is the spiritual pleasures, the spiritual realities. That's why it's called, as the philosophers described it very aptly, the highest good, right? So we want to seek, we want to yearn, we want to progress, we want to make practical steps towards that. Hello, Eric Blaze. Mick Dawn, it's the heart. You need to work on not how you look, and Buddha is not the only way, is not the way, only Christ. Mac B says, food and what's, haha. Yeah. So yeah, the hearts, absolutely. But you know, really, I think Jesus is not the only person who's about the hearts. The main practice of Buddhism is this practice of loving kindness and of opening the heart and warm-heartedness, and this prayer or this practice of let all beings not suffer, let all beings be happy and be well. So really, if you look at all the different spiritual practices, you'll see that they're all far more similar and pointing to the same thing. There's different distortions in each of them and different weird, very different strange certain verses and texts that have likely been manipulated over the time. But from the quietness and what I've seen of you in Shiva streams, you seem to just be playing and go with the flow. And I may be wrong in my opinion, but I resonate with it, what seems to be presentness. Yes, I appreciate that. I'm happy that you see that as presentness. I hope internally that that is what it is for myself as well. Ultimately, in the moments, there is so much available to us. And I am constantly, I don't want to say striving because it's not a striving, but I am constantly always wanting to be as present as possible. And this is what you should do as well. The more present that we become, the more alive we are, because that is what life is. If we the less present we are, like when we are asleep, when we are completely unconscious, completely not present, then we are not living. We are not aware, we are not awake, we are not sensitive, we are not um, our senses are numb, whatever else. So when we become aware, when we become sensitive to life, our external senses awaken. Internally, our energies awaken. All these different changes happen internally, and also even in the external as well. Situations and how you interact and the energy will change as well. But yes, this inner quietness, this inner awareness is so essential, so important. And even when we develop that to a very deep degree, even those around us, if we are in person with them especially, they will be able to feel this. They will be able to also begin to resonate and vibrate onto the same frequency of peace and bliss. Ultimately, the highest consciousness, the highest reality is infinitely plain, infinitely one, but also infinitely flavorful, infinitely unique and new, ever blissful. So there's that kind of dichotomy that exists where we find this extreme amount of pleasure, sukha, bliss, joy, ecstasy in the most simple, empty, plain, normal experiences. And all of those experiences, all of those uh, flavors become enriched, become alive and enlivened, become awakened. So this is really what the spiritual path is about developing both peace, calm, stillness in combination with that activity, in combination with that bliss, with that joy, with that ecstasy. And this is what we can call peace or infinite bliss, infinite love. And that is what spirituality is about. It is about further and further developing that energy within oneself and purifying one's mind, body, and spirit in that. And there's nothing that is more worthwhile because, and this is why it was so beautiful that the Greek philosophers described it in this way as the highest good, because that is very accurate, very uh, insightful, a very insightful description of what it really is. That is that it is the best thing for us, the highest thing, the most noble goal, the most enjoyable, pleasant experience that we can experience for ourselves. So this is what we should try and do, try and develop and try and practice within ourselves. This is the best thing. If we are wise, then we will seek what is best for us and what is best for others, that we might all enjoy, imbibe, and embody this. It is not that this is maybe not the best thing, or maybe not the wisest or most intelligent, most pleasurable way to live and thing to pursue. The only thing that is stopping us from that realization and those actions towards that eventual awakening, enlightenment, whatever, is the ignorance or the darkness which exists within this world. Because ultimately, as in this current era, in this current on this current earth, in this time and place in which we exist currently, there is darkness. There is lots of light and there is lots of darkness. There is lots of suffering and delusion and illusion. And so if we are able to pierce through that individually, even collectively, then we are going to be able to rise above that and enter into these higher realms and live just a life that is so beyond what you could imagine from any drug, any experience. Just enter into the, like, your life can just be a non-stop flow of ecstasy, really, of appreciation of these infinite expressions, internally, externally. And that's what this is. Hello, crazy cherry, welcome, welcome, hello. That's what this is. That's what God or God consciousness or the highest good, that's what it is. It's infinite. It's infinite love, infinite bliss, infinite joy. And so what is it like to experience something infinite? It's beyond the mind, beyond the senses. And so when we try and grasp that, when we try and contemplate, when we try and concentrate, when we try and realize that, when we think about that, when we, you know, then we're going to be coming closer to that. Our energies of our mind, body, and spirit are going to be vibrating. It's like when you see something vibrating. There's a certain property of certain principle of resonance, where if something's vibrating and it begins to vibrate the external environment, then something else which is vibrating at a different wavelength will begin to vibrate at the same pace, the same frequency. And so when we contemplate that infinite energy, when we think infinite love is all there is, when we see that in everything, we contemplate that, then the cosmic mind, the eternal mind, the highest mind, the most perfected mind, we begin to tune in with that vibration, because that is what it is contemplating. And then we can begin to flow in that cosmic rhythm with it. And that is the real practice of contemplation, as the Greek philosophers described. This is the real practice of contemplation, or you could say meditation, concentration, dhyana, jhana. There's different words for it in different scriptures and teachings, but ultimately it's all the same thing. It's all pointing at the same thing. And that is this bliss, this joy, this love, this union with self, union with others, union with self and with higher self. And that's what we really want. That's what we really desire, is connectedness, to feel connected. We don't want to feel numb. when we feel numb, when we do these things which numb us, these incorrect, when we live in these incorrect ways, they numb us, they numb our senses, they numb our experience of life. And in that moment it feels good. But we notice later, we feel that we are dull, we are not connected, and that's why we are sad. We are disconnected, we are lifeless, dull from the inside. And so when we do these other practices which enliven us, then we feel that life, we feel that connectedness with all life, with all things, with all beings, with God consciousness. And like I said, this is the most noble pursuit, the most highest pursuit, the most worthwhile, enjoyable pursuit. There's nothing else which is more worthwhile and enjoyable than that. So go and spread the word, I suppose. And this is something that is like, that is high, that is very strange to somebody who is existing, especially very deeply within the mundane matrix reality, right? This is something very strange, a very strange concept, and would be for them an even stranger experience and reality for them to take on. But nevertheless, we see this idea portrayed in different movies, in culture, in religions, and traditions, like this movie of the Matrix. This is actually really the real life version of that. Even in one of the Matrix movies, I believe the third one, they discuss this mantra, Asotoma Sadgamaya, this Hindu mantra, which is discussing leading us from this darkness to this light, from this ignorance to this enlightenment or liberation. So that is the purpose of why we are here on life, because all life naturally, if it is not manipulated by certain forces, if it is not uh, doing certain incorrect actions, certain incorrect thoughts, in essence, our essential desire is for that pleasure and for that highest manifestation of that pleasure. That is essentially, intrinsically, how we are wired. We are pleasure seekers, and we don't. When we run away from fear, from pain, from negative emotions, we want the good, and we don't want the bad. That is intrinsically how we are designed, and so we want to seek this highest good. And it is also difficult even to imagine or interpret how enjoyable, how blissful, how beautiful this experience is until we are dwelling within it. Because it is like we exist within a certain paradigm, within a certain frame of mind. And until we escape, or until we see something from a different vantage points, from a different perspective, it is very difficult to imagine what it is like to exist within that different reality. So this is what is described in the Matrix and with this mantra. And this is also described like in Alice in Wonderland. You know, it's the same concept of this bunny, this hare, leading you out from the mundane world into the spiritual world, into the supra mental plane, into the plane where mind, where consciousness is more apparent than the physical realities. This is what, like when the rabbit leads Alice into the other dimension, or when the rabbit leads, the hare leads, the rabbit leads Neo out of the matrix. So this is what also these saints, gurus, and teachers have been trying to do for us. They've been trying to point at the moon, and they say, look, contemplate this. You are Brahman, you are God. And instead of looking at that, we look at the finger. We look at all the expressions of God. We look at maybe different drugs or intoxicants or different things in which we can find shelter in order to give us pleasure and happiness, when really they are like just a a band-aid on on the issue, on the greater issue, which is that we desire something. We desire the highest, that we are not content. We desire that deep down, we desire that infinite union. And that is possible for us. That is a real possibility for us if we try and connect to that, if we make that effort in order to connect with that. And ultimately, you know, finding union with this thing is very beautiful, very blissful. But it's also very beautiful, even just the pursuits, even just experiencing some degree of closeness, some degree of connection with that infinite reality awakens within oneself. One can experience this feeling of bliss, of joy, of love, of connection. So that is really what we really want. Yeah, it's so good. And even just talking about it, also awakens the upliftment of mind, of spirit, of emotion within me right now. Because these ideas are very uplifting to the mind, to the emotions. And we are so often unaware, we are so often aware to a very superficial level of our emotional, spiritual, even physical realities which we are now existing in. But when we become also more sensitive to that, we can become more sensitive to the level at which our consciousness is existing. And discussing these ideas, our mind gets led into what is called these more subtle planes, where reality becomes more fluid, things become less solid and more psychedelic, you might even say. And this is a very, very beautiful, beautiful thing. It's very strange because when we become more alive, uh, when we become more real, you could say, when we become uh, awakened and attuned and alive and real, we actually feel everything less real and more fake and more fluid and uh, more malleable. And that is the nature of it. So it's very fun to discuss these higher realities and discuss these experiences. And so I hope that that was somehow interesting. I'll probably end the live here because unless there's any more questions, um, but yeah, otherwise it'll be good for me to move on to onto something else. But for sure, subscribe if you're interested. Go check out my other videos if you're interested. Yeah. Hello, Silence Speaks Now. It's good to see you. I hope you've been well. Blessings, blessings. Probably another live will come tomorrow. And yes, as always, at Astra. Are these those mala beads or just a necklace? Yeah, this is a Rudraksha. So um, it's like the tree which Buddha meditated under. They're supposedly called tears of Shiva, and they basically absorb one's energy. And so, if one is cultivating a very pure essence, they kind of store it and allow one to embody that and solidify that within one's essence and not allow the external energies or negative energies to enter. So, yes, thank you guys so much. As always, Ad Astra, blessings, blessings. Happy holidays. Yes, love and peace. Have a good day, guys.